Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here with us. As a sleep researcher, I spend a lot of my time looking at the quiet, hidden battles we fight in the dark. And I want you to picture a scene right now that I'm guessing is going to feel incredibly familiar. It's past midnight. You told yourself you were going to go to sleep an hour ago. The house is completely quiet. The room is pitch black. And yet, there you are, bathed in that familiar blue-white glow. We're going to break down exactly what is happening in your brain during these late night hours. Okay, let's dive into this.
Think about that physical experience for a second. You finally resolve to sleep, you put the phone down on the nightstand, you close your eyes. And then, maybe 30 seconds later, you pick it right back up. And you didn't do it because anyone messaged you, right? You weren't waiting for a crucial email or some emergency alert. You just picked it up, and suddenly you're back in that strange, half-awake state, scrolling through content that you absolutely won't remember in the morning. You're telling yourself, okay, this is literally the last one, while knowing deep down that it absolutely isn't. So why did you pick it up again?
Well, most people, when they look at this kind of behavior, they just slap the label phone addiction on it and call it a day. It's a convenient label for sure, but I want to argue that this explanation is way too simple. And more importantly, it actually lets you off the hook in the wrong way. Because what's actually happening in that late night loop isn't just some mindless habit. It is highly specific. Your brain is doing this for a very particular reason. And as we'll see, unless you understand the deeper reason your brain is looping like a broken record, you really can't change the behavior.
Part 1. The brain at night.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast in how your brain operates depending on the time of day. The brain you have at 2 p.m. is fundamentally not the same brain you have at 2 a.m. During the day, your day brain is running the show. Specifically, your prefrontal cortex is active and totally in charge. This is the part of your brain responsible for planning, reasoning, and impulse control. It's that logical voice that says, nope, not now, when you want to do something you shouldn't. It actively delayed gratification. But at night, as your body prepares for sleep, that prefrontal cortex actively starts to power down. It shifts toward lower frequency activity. Your defenses drop and your night brain takes over. This is your older, faster, emotional brain. And let me tell you, it is highly impulsive and actively seeking out stimulation.
This shift in brain activity means absolutely everything feels more intense at night. Your worries feel heavier, random memories just surface out of nowhere, loneliness feels so much sharper, and that pull toward your phone, it is significantly stronger than it ever would be during the day. Listen to me on this. You are not weaker at night. You are just less defended. Your impulse control lowers naturally as part of the biological sleep process. And the crucial thing to realize here is that your phone is deliberately designed to exploit this exact undefended moment.
Part 2. What you actually seek.
The device itself is really just a piece of glass and metal. The real question we need to ask is, what are you using it to do? For most people, that late-night phone checking is driven by one of 3 distinct emotional drivers. And quite often, your completely undefended night brain is actually doing all 3 of these at the exact same time. They are anxiety management, autonomy recovery, and connection seeking. Let's look at each of these so we can understand exactly why your brain thinks the phone is the magic answer to its problems.
So the first driver is anxiety management. Think about what happens when the day finally ends. The busyness just stops. The noise fades. And suddenly, whatever you were too distracted to feel during the day just bubbles right up to the surface. Maybe it's that unresolved conversation from work, a decision you're actively avoiding, or just a low-grade worry you can't quite put a name to. Your brain reaches for the phone because scrolling provides this constant low-level stimulation. It acts like a buffer, right? It keeps those unresolved daytime thoughts just far enough away to be tolerable.
The second driver is autonomy recovery, and honestly, psychologists have a brilliant name for this: revenge bedtime procrastination. If your days feel entirely controlled by work, by obligations, or just by other people's needs, the night can feel like the absolute only time that is truly yours. So you stay up late, even though you are completely, utterly exhausted, as a form of reclaiming your time. I really want to validate this for you. This behavior isn't a personal failing. It's not you just being irrational. It is a highly rational attempt by your brain to finally get your autonomy back.
And the third driver? Connection seeking. At our core, we are fundamentally social animals. And at night, alone in the dark, that evolutionary pull toward other people gets incredibly loud. So what do? We turn to social media, to messages, to endless content created by other humans. But here is the real tragedy of this tool. It doesn't actually deliver human connection. It only simulates it. Just enough to briefly quiet that evolutionary pull, but ultimately leaving you fundamentally unsatisfied.
Part 3. The Dopamine Trap. This brings us to the neurochemical layer, which is exactly what makes this loop so particularly hard to break. The apps on your phone are not designed to satisfy you. Think about it. If they actually satisfied you, you'd put the phone down and go to sleep. Instead, they are engineered to keep you almost satisfied. Every single scroll, every refresh is a tiny dopamine hit. It's not a large, fulfilling reward. It's a tiny hit designed solely to create intense anticipation for the next one.
And this brilliantly illustrates the slot machine effect. Just look at the behavioral loop here. You have a trigger, like a notification or just an internal urge. The action is the scroll. But the reward isn't actual satisfaction. It's near reward anticipation. The reward isn't the point. The near reward is the point. It's that nagging feeling that something truly interesting might just be one more scroll away. It keeps you endlessly pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot that never comes.
So let's put this all together. At night, your impulse control is already severely reduced because your prefrontal cortex is powered down for sleep. In that highly vulnerable state, you're engaging with a dopamine loop that is nearly impossible to exit through willpower alone. I really want to destigmatize this struggle for you right now. You are not failing because you are weak. You are failing because you are fighting a system engineered by some of the smartest behavioral designers in the world, precisely in the moment when your natural defenses are at their absolute lowest. It is a completely unfair fight.
Part 4. Designing a better environment. Knowing it's an unfair fight, we can't just rely on being stronger in the dark. We have to be smarter in the light. Willpower at midnight is absolutely useless. It fails against those engineered dopamine loops every single time. The only true solution is environment design before midnight. If you change the environment before your prefrontal cortex powers down, you completely remove the option. Willpower just becomes unnecessary when the object simply isn't there to tempt you.
So, the crucial point is that we need to make 3 specific environmental and physical changes to prevent late-night use. First, create physical distance from the phone. Second, build a 10-minute wind-down journal ritual. And third, protect daylight time for yourself. Let's break these down real quick. Number 1 is by far the most important: physical distance. Not an app limit, not grayscale mode. The phone literally must be charging in another room. The people who actually do this report it as the single highest impact change for their sleep. Step 2 directly addresses the anxiety driver. If anxiety is what's keeping you scrolling, you need a wind-down ritual before bed to process the day. Just take 10 minutes and write down 3 things that are unresolved in your mind. Then, write down just 1 step you'll take tomorrow to address them. By externalizing the worry onto paper, you literally move it out of your nervous system before your head even hits the pillow.
Step 3 addresses autonomy and connection. To stop that revenge bedtime procrastination, you absolutely must protect daylight time for yourself. Even just 30 minutes of unstructured daytime radically reduces the desperation you feel at night. Remember, you're not stealing time at night if you have enough of it already. And if connection is your main driver, recognize that the screen fundamentally fails to provide it. Seek out a real brief phone call or conversation during the day. It actually fulfills the human need, rather than just faking it.
To summarize our explainer today, this late-night loop isn't some deep character flaw. It isn't laziness, and it isn't poor self-control. It is simply a brain doing exactly what brains do. It's seeking stimulation when it's understimulated. It's seeking connection when it's lonely, and autonomy when it feels overwhelmed. The problem is not your need. The problem is that the phone is a very poor tool for meeting those needs, dressed up by behavioral designers to look like the perfect one.
Once you understand what you're actually reaching for in the dark, you can start to meet those true needs during the light of day. You don't have to sacrifice your sleep, your mornings, or that quiet version of yourself that only exists when the screen is finally off. So tonight, when you feel that familiar urge, put it down. Not because you're forcing yourself to, but because you finally know why you picked it up in the first place. The real question is, what will you discover in the dark when the screen finally goes black?